Ever wonder if someone's looks can actually affect how well they do in sales?
Mm. Yeah, it's a thought that I'm sure has crossed a lot of people's minds.
It's definitely a bit of a sensitive subject.
It is, but the sales experts jumped right in,
Mm.
and they had some really interesting things to say about looks and sales success,
Yeah.
and about building sales teams.
Yeah, they really dove into it.
Yeah.
So we thought we'd take a deep dive with you all today and explore that a bit further, see what they had to say.
Right.
So they start out by talking about this thing called the halo effect.
Uh-huh.
Have you heard of that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. The halo effect, it's a bias that we all have where if we see one good thing about a person, we kind of just assume other good things about them too.
Right. So like if someone is really attractive,
Yeah.
we automatically think, oh, they must be smart
Well taught.
or capable,
Trustworthy.
trustworthy. Yeah.
Yeah.
All the good stuff.
Like a halo
Exactly. Exactly.
glowing above them.
And the sales experts were saying that can really affect how people see someone when they're trying to get a job in sales.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Especially, you think about it, when you're in sales, those first impressions are so important.
Yeah, because you don't have a ton of time to, like, when you're meeting a client for the first time,
Yeah.
you want to make a good impression
Right away.
right away.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
And if you look like you have it together, like you're polished,
Yeah.
people just, it's easier to trust you.
And the sales experts, they actually referenced some research that said that people who are seen as attractive are actually seen as more persuasive too.
Interesting.
Which makes sense. In sales, you have to be persuasive to make those sales.
Yeah, that's true. It's true.
It's a big part of it.
So it sounds like they're saying that looks are really important then.
Well, they did say that looks matter, but they didn't say that was the only thing that matters.
Okay.
They actually went on to say that just hiring a bunch of attractive people isn't going to magically make your sales team awesome.
Okay.
You can't just stack your team with good-looking people and then just sit back and rake in the cash.
Right, right.
They made that clear. It's not quite that simple. Looks might help you get your foot in the door, but they said it's really those deeper qualities that make or break a salesperson.
Like what kind of qualities?
Oh, like skills, drive, character, that kind of stuff.
Okay, yeah.
The stuff you can't always see right away.
Right, right. And you need those things to be successful over the long term, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They actually had a really good analogy for that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they said relying only on looks to boost sales is like trying to build a house, but like on a foundation of sand.
Ooh. Yeah, I see what they're saying.
It might look good at first, but it's not going to last.
Right.
So they're really saying that it's important to, look beyond just how someone looks.
So then what happens if you just focus on looks when you're hiring for your sales team? What did the sales experts say about that?
Well, they said that can actually be kind of risky. Like, it can lead to some problems.
Oh, really? Like what?
Well, for one, they talked about bias and discrimination.
Right, that makes sense.
If you're only hiring people who look a certain way, then you're going to miss out on a ton of great talent. And, that can get you into some legal trouble, too.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And the sales experts, they said that by fixating on looks, you might end up with a sales team that looks great, but actually lacks the experience and skills to really drive those sales.
Right, so they might look the part, but they can't actually close the deal.
Exactly.
So if we're not supposed to just go by looks then, what should we be looking for when we're putting together our sales team? What did the sales experts say about that?
Well, they actually gave a whole list of qualities that they think are way more important than how someone looks when it comes to being successful in sales.
I bet things like communication are on that list.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Being a good communicator is super important. Also, they said resilience is key.
Yeah, you got to be able to bounce back from those rejections.
Exactly. Can't let it get you down.
Yeah.
Sales is tough. And you got to have good emotional intelligence, too,
Oh, yeah, being able to understand and connect with your client's emotions.
That's it. Really key to building those relationships and closing deals.
So it sounds like these are all really important qualities. But are these things that people are just born with, or can they be developed?
That's a really good question. And the sales experts actually talked about that, too.
Okay.
They said that when you're hiring, don't just look at a candidate's past experience. Dig a little deeper,
Okay, yeah.
See if they've got the potential to learn and grow.
Right. Look for those hidden gems.
Exactly. The sales world is changing so much these days with everything going digital and remote. I feel like how someone looks matters even less now than it used to, right?
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's not as much about that face-to-face interaction anymore.
Yeah, it used to be all about that in-person charisma, but now it's more about how you come across online.
Right, like how well you can communicate through a video call or even just an email.
The sales experts actually touched on this too.
Oh, yeah?
They basically said that while first impressions definitely still matter online,
Yeah.
we really got to shift our focus away from just looks and towards those qualities that are more about long-term success in sales.
Okay, yeah, the things that really make someone good at what they do.
That's what they're saying. We need to look past those snap judgments we make and really figure out what makes a candidate tick.
Like, what are they really motivated by? What are they good at? Do they actually want to learn and grow?
Right, it's about digging deeper.
Yeah, this is all super interesting, but I'm curious. What did the sales experts say we should actually do differently when we're hiring for sales?
Well, they gave some really specific strategies to help us build sales teams that are built to last.
Okay.
And we'll dive into those right after this.
Okay, so we've talked about how important it is to see past just how someone looks when we're building a sales team. But what can we actually do to make sure we're not letting those biases sneak in during hiring? What did the sales experts recommend?
Well, they had a really interesting idea called blind recruitment.
Blind recruitment, what's that?
So basically, you take away any information from the resumes that might tell you what the person looks like. So you're looking at a resume without a name, no photo, no clues about their age or anything like that.
Oh, so you can just focus on what they've done and what skills they have.
Right, exactly. Just their experience and skills and qualifications, and that's it.
Wow, that's a really cool idea.
Yeah.
It makes you realize how much we probably do judge people based on things that don't matter when it comes to their work.
The sales experts think this is a good way to make sure everyone has a fair shot, and hiring decisions are only made based on who's the best fit for the job.
So besides this blind recruitment thing, what else did they say?
They were really big on using those behavioral interview questions.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of those. Instead of just talking about what you did at your last job, they ask you how you'd handle certain situations.
Right. They want to see what you would actually do. Like the sales experts suggested asking things like, tell me about a time you dealt with a really tough objection from a customer, or how did you build a connection with a client who was difficult? Stuff like that. So
You can see how someone actually thinks and solves problems, not just what they say they can do.
yep, that's the idea. And they also said to think about including some role playing as part of the interview.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, you could give them a situation they might run into on the job and see how they do.
And you get to see if they're actually a good salesperson.
Right. Like, can they ask the right questions? Do they listen well? Can they explain why the product is valuable? Things like that.
You get to see them in action.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that. Did they have any other advice about the hiring process?
Actually, the sales experts had another really interesting idea. They recommended having some of your current sales team be part of the interview process, too.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, maybe they could even take part in the role playing or give their thoughts on the candidates.
I can see how that would be really helpful to get their perspective.
Definitely.
That way you can be more sure that whoever you hire will fit in well with the rest of the team.
Right. Because in the end, it's all about building a team where everyone works well together, right? You're not just trying to find a bunch of individuals.
It's about more than just that.
Yeah. And the sales experts had some thoughts about company culture, too. They talked about how important it is to create an environment where it's what you bring to the table that matters, not how you look.
So basically, don't build a culture that's obsessed with looks.
Exactly. They said that if you only care about appearances, you might end up with people who don't feel like they can be themselves.
Right, and people might start to feel like they need to focus on being stylish or looking good instead of just doing their best work.
Yeah, and that can really hurt creativity and make people feel less connected. And the sales experts said that's not good for sales success in the long run.
So what do they say companies should do instead?
Well, they said that leaders need to really emphasize things like hard work, being dedicated, being honest, and always wanting to learn and grow.
That makes sense. Rewarding people for the things that really make a difference.
Yeah, it's not just saying it either. You
Yeah.
gotta actually create a system where doing great work gets recognized and rewarded. Promote people based on what they do, give them opportunities to learn new skills, and make sure people feel comfortable giving each other feedback.
I like that. Create a space where people feel appreciated for who they are and what they can do.
Yeah, not for how they look.
So the sales experts gave us a lot to think about. It's a good reminder for anyone who's in charge of building a sales team.
Definitely.
And they actually had a bunch of really helpful and practical tips.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that we all have biases, and we gotta be careful about that during hiring.
Yeah, it's important to focus on finding people who really have the talent and potential to be great at sales, not just people who look good on paper or in person.
And the sales experts really hit home that doing that's not only the right thing to do, but it's also good for business.
It's a win-win.
Right. When you have a team full of people who are diverse, motivated, and dedicated to doing great work, you're setting yourself up for success. And we'll be right back to talk about some more of their ideas.
Yeah, it's really been interesting talking about how looks can be so deceiving when you're trying to build a great sales team. The sales experts really made us think about our assumptions and about how important it is to focus on those qualities that really make someone successful in sales.
And they had some great advice on how to actually put those ideas into practice. Remember all those things we talked about, like doing blind recruitment, asking those behavioral questions, and having people do role playing.
Yeah.
Those are all things we can do to make our hiring process more about finding the right person for the job and less about just how someone looks.
Yeah, and I thought what they said about building a company culture that values substance over style was really interesting. Makes you think about what kind of message you're sending to your team when you care too much about how everyone looks.
Definitely, if you're always telling people they have to look a certain way or fit a certain mold, they're going to feel like they can't be themselves.
And it can't be good for anyone.
No, not at all. The sales experts think that when you build a culture where what's on the inside matters more, it makes people feel like they can trust each other and respect each other.
And when people feel good about being themselves at work, they're going to be more excited to be there and work harder.
Absolutely. They're going to care more about their work and they'll do a better job.
It's better for everyone.
Exactly. So everyone wins.
The sales experts made a really good point that building a strong sales team isn't just about finding a bunch of people who look good or have fancy resumes.
Yeah, it's about finding people who share the same vision,
Cool.
who want to work together, and who want to do something great.
And when you can get everyone on the same page like that, the results will show it.
Exactly. So I think the biggest takeaway from this deep dive is don't be fooled by appearances. Don't get so hung up on how someone looks that you miss out on those amazing people who might not stand out right away, but who have what it takes to be real stars in sales.
That's a good reminder for all of us, no matter what we do.
Yeah.
Never judge a book by its cover.
Right. Focus on the things that really matter. Being a good person, working hard, wanting to learn, doing your best. Build your team around that, and you can achieve anything.
Well said. So to all our listeners out there, keep this in mind next time you're interviewing someone. Remember all the things we talked about today. Try that blind recruitment thing. Ask those behavioral questions. Really try to get to know who the person is and what they're capable of.
And most importantly, try to build a company culture where what's inside a person matters more than what's on the outside.
Building a great sales team is a journey, not a destination, right? You have to keep learning and adapting and making sure everyone feels like they can do their best work. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive, and until next time, keep exploring and keep questioning your assumptions.